This is Didier Drogba, one of the greatest African players to ever step on a football pitch. But here's something you probably didn't know. His proudest moment wasn't winning the Champions League with Chelsea, and he wasn't leading Ivory Coast to the World Cup either. It was something far bigger. It was stopping a war in his country. Yes, a footballer preventing a civil war. So how did Drogba pull this off, and what shocking truth does it reveal about football? Let's break it all down. So back in 2002, Ivory Coast was falling apart. People were split by ethnicity, religion and region, and the tension exploded into a brutal civil war. Thousands were killed, cities were in chaos, and for ordinary people, every day became a fight. Life as they knew it had vanished. But then, 3 years later, something happened that would flip everything on its head. Something that would change the country's fate forever. As Ivory Coast's men's team prepared to face Sudan in their final World Cup qualifier, one that could send them to Germany in 2006, they delivered a statement, beating Sudan 3-1. But even with that win, their spot wasn't guaranteed, as their fate hung on the Egypt vs Cameroon game. A Cameroon win would see them go through instead, but anything less would hand the Warriors of Ivory Coast a place in the World Cup, as they sat just 1 point above Cameroon in the group. And just like that, fortune was on Ivory Coast's side. The match between Cameroon and Egypt ended 1-1, sending the Ivorians through to the 2006 World Cup in Germany. The players were about to erupt in celebration in the dressing room. But then something happened. Something so shocking it silenced everyone and changed the mood completely. As the news hit them like a thunderbolt, thousands of civilians had died back in their home soil of Ivory Coast. Hearing that, the players were crushed, heartbroken, utterly devastated. The joy of qualifying for the World Cup vanished in an instant, and in that moment they made a decision nobody could have expected, a choice that would change the history of Ivory Coast forever. Led by Didier Drogba, the team recorded a short video message directly to their country, urging people to stop the war.
Ivoiriens, Ivoiriennes, vous avez vu, on vous a prouvé aujourd'hui que toute la Côte d'Ivoire peut cohabiter, peut jouer ensemble pour un même objectif. S'il vous plaît, déposez tous les armes.
And here's the catch, the players standing in on Drogba weren't just from one region, they came from all corners of Ivory Coast, sending a clear message that no matter where you're from, every Ivorian can live together. By that point, the civil war had been raging for 3 long years, but the players' message was unlike anything the country had seen before. Powerful, united, and impossible to ignore. And here's the insane part, the fact that the team had just qualified for the biggest stage in football, that also for the first time in their history forced both the government and the rebels to sit down together. That meeting, it ultimately led to a ceasefire, turning the tide of the war and giving Ivory Coast a chance at peace. As a result, the entire nation united, turning up in Germany to celebrate Ivory Coast's greatest football achievement. Finally, it looked like a fairy tale ending. A country divided for years, now standing together on the world's biggest stage. But here's the twist, it wasn't the happy ending everyone thought it would be. Just when things seemed perfect for the Ivorians, something shocking happened once again. The national elections, which were supposed to take place in 2005, kept getting delayed and didn't happen until 2010. But when the results finally came in, they were heavily disputed, and just like that, violence erupted once again, plunging Ivory Coast back into war. But nonetheless, the contribution of Didier Drogba and the Ivorian team will forever go down in the history of football as proof of why this sport is so much more than just a game. Because no other sport has ever been able to stop a war, to unite people of every ethnicity, every race, and every religion. Football has the power to silence guns, to heal wounds, and to remind us that no matter how divided we may seem, we can still stand together as one. It's not just goals, trophies or 90 minutes on the pitch. It's hope, it's unity, it's life itself. And that's why football is more than just a game.